And I'd like to welcome everybody to this virtual information session. We'll be discussing Sienna's graduate programs in teacher education this evening, focusing on our Master of Science in Early Childhood and Childhood Education. We'll also touch upon a few relevant certificate and non-degree options as well. So for our agenda, we'll go over a couple of introductions. We'll have our overview of Siena College, our School of Liberal Arts, the graduate program options we'll be focusing on today, and we'll talk a bit more about the curriculum and the admissions process. And then, as I mentioned, we'll have some time for questions and answers. So I'd like to introduce you to your admissions team as well as your department curriculum folks. My name is Doreen Morris, and I'm the Assistant Director of Graduate Admissions here at Siena College. And my colleague, John Bond, he is the Director of Graduate Programs, and we represent the admissions office. We're here to help you with any questions related to grad school, picking the right graduate program, working through the application process, and things of that nature. And joining me today is Dr. Christy Fragnoli, as well as Dr. Christina Pfister. They are associate professors and co-directors of the Early Childhood and Childhood Education programs. And if you're not familiar with Siena College, we are about 5 minutes from New York State, or I'm so sorry, we're about 5 minutes from the capital of Albany, New York. We're located in Loudonville. It's about a half hour from Saratoga Springs, a couple hours from Boston and New York City. We're pretty centrally located here. It's a beautiful drive up to the Adirondacks. So the program we're focusing on today is more of an online program, but I definitely encourage you to take a drive up and to check out Siena's campus if you can, because it is a beautiful campus. I highly recommend that you come check us out. Every season has its share of beauty, and I do feel that fall in upstate New York is simply breathtaking. So our campus dates back to 1937, and its architecture blends the classic with the modern, and Franciscan beauty can be incorporated and seen in every structure and landscaping on campus. So our education department is part of the School of Liberal Arts, and most of our graduate department faculty are located in the beautiful Rossetti Hall, which is located in the northernmost academic building on campus. So as I mentioned, today's presentation will be focusing on our Master of Science in Early Childhood and Childhood Education, in addition to some mentions of a few of our relevant certificate options, such as the Certificate of Advanced Study in TESOL and the Middle Childhood Extension. And I'll now turn things over to Dr. Sfragnoli and Dr. Pfister to tell us all about them. Hello.
Hi, thank you for joining us tonight. Yeah, so we have, I think, a great option. The Master of Science in Early Childhood and Childhood Education is a 39 credit program. And students come into that program and complete it generally within 2 years, although there are options to do that would be full-time. There are options to do it part-time as well, if that's something that folks are interested in. We have, at the end of the program, you will be recommended for New York State certification as a birth to grade 2 teacher and as a teacher of grades 1 through 6. So there's a little bit of overlap there, just the way the New York State certifications work. You will start with courses, foundational courses, progress through courses in literacy, courses in the methods of teaching, and your final semester is your student teaching semester when you will be placed in a classroom. You work cooperatively with a host teacher, and my colleague Dr. Fragnoli teaches the seminar course for that.
Yes, so we work with you while you're out in the field completing your student teaching, but we are the transition class. So we go from the concept of being a graduate student to a professional. So during that time, we apply for New York State certification. We do all the discussions about resumes and interviews and all of those things. So we carry you all the way through, not only the requirements of state ed, but actually getting that job and moving into the profession.
And there's some great content in that course too.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the, thinking about like classroom management, because now, you've been talking about it in theory, you've seen it in field work. We have field work in classrooms. And the classrooms are located, we will work with you to find a classroom near you. And that's really embedded throughout the program, but then there's a lot of that in seminar also.
And a tremendous amount of support between
Mhm.
all of the students. They become very close
Yeah.
because during this time we share different things that we might experience in classrooms. So it's a wonderful opportunity to learn from each other and learn about different experiences in other schools also.
When you finish your degree, there are some other options. They were actually back one slide, and I'll just say very quickly, there's an option in middle childhood. So if you're interested in teaching a content area grades 7 through 9, you can also do that through the program with a little bit of additional coursework and certification exams. And then after you finish the program, we also have, we have your life planned out here. We have another option. Siena offers a certificate of advanced study in teaching English to speakers of other languages. So that can also be an appealing additional thing if you want to add some things to your certification. So if we go forward a slide, or yeah, forward. Yep, there we go.
So I just want to make sure I'm on the right slide. Yes.
Yeah.
So when you are considering entering a teaching position in a teaching program in a B6, we need to know that you have a collection of undergraduate courses that fit into approximately 30 liberal arts credits. And we would love to sit down, Dr. Pfister and myself, and talk with you and go through an unofficial transcript, because we're experts in identifying the courses that we can group together to say, yes, you are a perfect fit for a master's program.
And that's a New York State requirement that
is.
students come into the program because they want teachers to be well-rounded. And so that comes from your undergraduate coursework. It might be your major, it might be other liberal arts courses you've taken, and that just slides in very nicely, and then you begin your graduate coursework.
And the neat thing about the graduate, and I am such a huge advocate that not every program is the same, but here at Siena, you leave with 2 recommendations. And I want you to think about a typical elementary school. You tend to see it could go from preschool all the way up to 6th grade. And now we even see some schools turning to middle schools where you might have 5th grade to 8th grade. So having that dual certification where you could work with the very young and the upper intermediate grades is a fantastic marketing piece. Administrators really want to be able to say, you would fit nicely in my school because we can move according to shifts and needs within the district. So it's super, super marketable.
All right, so we talked a little bit about what B6 is. We call it B6, birth to grade 6. But it's really that elementary band. And as we mentioned, there's the optional middle level certificate. And again, we like to bring that up because some folks are interested, so you might know you want to work with younger kids, but you might also be open to extending up a bit. That optional certificate in the middle level education is for grades 7 through 9. And that you have to have 30 credits undergraduate in a particular content area already. And if you're interested and you're close to 30 credits, or even if you're interested and you're not, talk to us because we can help you plan out what something like that would look like and just explore that option.
Yeah, we could definitely work with you on that.
Right, so 39 credit program. It's typically 2 years, just because of the way the courses are structured, and that allows you time to work during the day. And we have folks who are teaching assistants, we have folks who sub day to day, we have folks in the program who have nothing to do with education right now and are in a totally different field. We have folks with families, we have folks who are returning students, we have folks who are fresh out of their undergraduate program and have really always wanted to be a teacher. So it's really a nice mix of student.
Yeah, and it may work out perfectly for your own particular needs to start as a part-time and
Mhm.
take 1 or 2 courses a semester.
Yep.
And then as you move forward, you may feel very comfortable and say, oh, I can do this all and I can be a full-time. The actual program is really flexible and we work within the needs and desires that you have. And we can work with you in mapping this out to show you how quickly or how slowly you can finish the degree.
Yep. And I think that's key. You can go back and forth
Yeah.
depending on what your needs are. If you want to start one way and then change in a future semester. The courses are delivered fully online. And what that means here at Siena is that you'll have a few classes that are fully asynchronous, but most of the courses meet either Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday in the evening, and they're fully on Zoom. And we have students who log in from home, and we have students who log in from the car. We have students who log in from their job.
Office.
Yep. Yeah. So there's lots of different flexibility and lots of different options. And although the program is fully remote, you still have an opportunity to visit campus. We have speakers. We're working on doing more get-togethers, more
Yeah,
informal
social,
things.
informal
Yep.
pieces. So
yeah.
Wednesday night of this week, we are having our graduate students and we are going to a panel discussion and we're learning about best practices to help our English language learners. And then afterwards, we're getting together and we're having pizza and it's a social collaboration. So there's a lot of flexibility.
And another thing that's really good about Siena is that you have a really strong community here if you're able to come to campus, but there's a lot of services that are also and things that are available. We have office hours fully online if that's what you're looking for, or you can come to campus.
Yeah.
We just had our career fair tonight, actually. Dr. Fraganoli and I just ran across campus for this session and the career fair tonight. And we had our current graduate students were all invited and they were there to look at area schools. There were
just under 60 school districts from Texas all the way to Vermont.
Yep, and lots of local folks around here. Yeah. Yep, and so those school districts were there doing some on-the-spot interviews and just giving out information about their districts. So on our next slide, there we go.
We are the best teachers.
Yep, the best teachers are saints.
Yes, absolutely. And we actually have 2 slides of pictures. And these are our actual true students out in the field, enjoying their field placement. So we should probably, Dr. Pfister, talk about our field placement opportunities.
I'm glad you said that, don't you, Bryce? It's not like we practiced this. Yeah, so the opportunities, you're going to be doing field work in local classrooms, either where you are located or up here in the Capital Region. And basically, virtually not everyone, but virtually every one of our classes has a fieldwork component. And typically you'll be going into classrooms to do some observation hours, do some assignments. I know my class right now is teaching so they're actually teaching 2 math or science lessons in a classroom. Your placements will run the full spectrum. So you'll have placements at the younger grade levels and placements at the older grade levels up through 6th grade, which is a really nice opportunity because even if you think you know what grade you want to teach, it's still a great opportunity for you to see a different grade level, get some experience there, and then maybe confirm that you do want to be in a different grade level, or maybe open your eyes to realize that there's a grade level in working with children that you hadn't thought about, and it's more fun than you considered.
And we do scaffold our field so that you build confidence out in the classroom. So when Dr. Pfister was talking about teaching a lesson, that comes a little bit later. We send you out, we ask you to look for specific things, chat with teachers, come back, share information, and we build and build and build so that when you go into student teaching, it is absolutely comfortable and stress-free because you've done this so many times.
So here's an example of some of the many school districts where we have alumni working. I think we have a slide coming up in a moment with even a little bit more information. But I always like this the slide because it gives you a nice visual of some of the places where we have folks working.
Yeah, and in this next slide, yes, now
Yep.
take a look. We go locally to internationally. So our students are everywhere,
Mhm.
and that is such a positive thing because of the support out in the field regionally or internationally, which is a wonderful thing that we call on our alums to support our new entering teachers. Fantastic.
And I should say every one of these districts on here, there's a ton more also, but every one of these districts represents a real student. So we didn't just grab names. These are real former students are teaching in these districts and
more.
and
Way more.
quite a lot more. Yeah, and they're so excited to we have former students come back as guest speakers. We've done that a lot. They are interested in hosting student teachers. They're interested in working with you for field placements. So they're just really excited to continue to give back to their program.
And their profession.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Thank you, ladies. So we'll talk now a little bit about the application process. So this is the technical part of our show here. The QR codes that have been on the slides, which will send you a recording of today's session as well. QR codes will take you to our website. This QR code will take you right to our application page. And the good news is that Siena has a rolling admissions process, which means you can apply anytime. And the online part of the application is the first part, and it can be submitted prior to uploading your other documents. You don't have to complete your application in one sitting. And we accept students in the fall, the spring, or the summer terms. And the applications do process rather quickly. So you can apply anytime. And if we can't squeeze you into the next session, then we'll fit you into the session after, but we are still accepting applications. So what do you need for your application? Your statement of purpose, your essay, your personal statement. This can be a brief statement, but it should be long enough that we learn more about you, why you've chosen Siena, why you're a good fit for the program, and why we should choose you. Helpful additions could include your personal goals. What do you hope to do with a degree in this area? What sets you apart from others in the future field? And the statement of purpose is also a great place to discuss any weaknesses that you may have had along your journey and how you overcame them, or what you've learned, how you've changed, things of that nature. And another item that you'll need is your resume or your CV. Resumes are more common in the United States, and CVs are more common in higher education and for international studies. Either is acceptable for grad school, as long as you include your academic history, your accomplishments. If you've dabbled in any research or publications, include that as well, and any internships or relevant experience. If you have any certifications, or you've done any volunteer work, or you've been involved in any extracurriculars or sports, you can include that as well. Make sure you have a logical flow to the document, and you include the month and year for any time frames. We do recommend reverse chronological order for newest to oldest. It's a great way to organize within each section as well. And as far as references, you'll need 2 letters of recommendation for most of our education programs. Some of our certificates do allow 1. But it's important that you choose the best references possible and that they're able to speak positively about your strengths. So we recommend asking in advance and telling your references why you're looking for their letter of recommendation. Perhaps share a copy of your resume and tell them what you've been up to as well. So that way they know your timeline and they're able to write a letter within the timeline that you need. We do recommend allowing, I'd say, at least a couple of weeks for folks to write letters for you and maybe follow up with them if you need to. It's always best practice to waive your right to see a letter of recommendation, which is why the system is set up for you to be able to input their information electronically, and they can submit the copy of the letter on your behalf. So next we'll talk a little bit more about transcripts. Now, the GRE is not required for any of Siena's graduate programs. And due to the online delivery modality of this program in particular, the Master of Science in Early Childhood and Childhood Education, international students who are interested in our education graduate programs, we encourage you to apply to the Master of Arts in Teaching program. So if you fall into this category, reach out to us and we'll be able to get you in the right spot as far as which program is the best fit. So in terms of transcripts, we will need any of your transcripts. For Siena students, the registrar will place your transcript on your file as well. And we also will need any transfer credit transcripts. So if you took any extra coursework or you brought in any courses into your undergraduate institution, we'll need those as well because the department will use those as we were chatting about earlier. They'll use those to determine that you have everything that you need for certification. And we do recommend, whenever possible and practical, have official copies sent to Siena electronically. If there are drop downs, you'll select Siena College. And remember, we are Siena College. We're located here in Loudonville, New York. There are a couple Sienas in the world, but we're the best. Alrighty, and some contact information for us. We do recommend that you reach out to the Office of Graduate Admissions and Office of Graduate Programs so that way we can help you with any of your questions that you have. We'll get in touch with the department if we need to, if we have questions, to be able to go from there. So our contact information is on the screen. If you're located on campus, I'm located in Joya Hall, and that's the same as the admissions building and financial aid offices. And my colleague John Bond, he's located in Siena Hall. That's the building with the gold dome, which is across the parking lot from Rossetti Hall as well. So at this time, I'd like to see if there are any questions. So that way we can, for the benefit of the recording, we can include any questions for our recording as well. And I do want to give an opportunity, professors, if you have any other tips you want to add or anything we want to review, we have plenty of time to be able to do that as well.
Do we have any tips?
Well, it is a great time to be entering education. There is so many positive pieces happening, and working with young people, always a delight, and there's always something new every day. It is a fantastic profession to jump into.
There's a teacher shortage and we're just so excited to be working with students and help you along on that journey.
You know, I have to say, being at the Education Expo prior to coming over today, it was lovely to see current students in the program and the level of professionalism that as they're sitting there talking with us or they're talking with principals or they're talking with colleagues, you know, just folks that are going through the program right now, how professional and kind everybody is. It's just a testament to not only the strength of our program, but our Franciscan values. It's beautiful to see in action. So. And it looks like we may have a question from Gabrielle. So if you'd like to ask your question, go ahead.
Hi, I do have one question. Is this covered by FAFSA by any chance? I was trying to look at it, or would I have to take out a private loan? I was just curious about that.
Yep. So I'm glad you asked. The way graduate school typically works is you can complete the FAFSA. Domestic students can complete the FAFSA to see if you're eligible for financial aid. Typically, for grad school, financial aid does come in the form of loans, though. But you can see if you're eligible for any federal loans. A lot of folks do try to get private loans as well. And some school districts, if you're already working in a school district, maybe as an aide or, you know, a substitute or something like that, some school districts do offer some type of reimbursement for courses as well. So there may be some options. There really aren't many grants on the grad side, though. So that is a major difference between undergrad and graduate. So great question.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I do have a question. If we're looking at the program, how do the courses fit with, you know, if I'm trying to work and go to school, you know, how do the courses fit? Are they timed in a way that I can complete them while I'm working? Do I have to work part-time? How does that all work?
Want to do that one?
Sure. So the courses are all in the evening. Everything that's offered synchronously on Zoom, it's a great question. Everything is offered in the evening. We have a couple of different start times depending on the course and depending on the course's needs. But classes meet, each class meets one night a week. They do meet for 3 hours. Which is a while, but it's important to keep in mind that faculty know that somebody has probably been at work for the day. And so, we're going to keep you engaged. We're going to keep you doing, there's group activities. We make, big use of the Zoom breakout rooms. But yeah, so each course meets one night a week. And it's, I would say it's pretty manageable. Virtually everybody in the program is working in some capacity right
Oh,
now.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Either subbing or a TA.
Yep.
Um,
Or something outside of
something else.
education. Yep.
Exactly. And I do agree, echoing Dr. Pfister,
Mhm.
that the courses, they are really hands-on
Yeah.
with the online piece. I mean, and I'm currently teaching a literacy class.
Yep.
And we are doing shared readings. We are doing read alouds. We are learning how to incorporate chapter books into the classroom. And even though this is an online class, you are running, your classroom with your camera on. And it works out great within, our Zoom classroom. You feel as if you are the teacher and practicing those skills of a shared reading. Yeah, so it's very interactive.
Another example I'll give quickly is the methods class that I'm teaching right now. It's a science and math methods class, and at the beginning of the semester, I had a box of materials that went to each student, and approximately every other week we do a STEM activity, and so we did the bird beak activity.
Yes.
So everybody had some Cheerios and tweezers to simulate a bird beak, and we're just it's something that we simulated what it would be like to do that with fourth graders, and then we broke it down as adult teachers, and talked about how did it work, what were some of the challenges that you found, what might you change in a classroom, and students left that with a full set of handouts and directions and materials, so that they're able to do that in their own classrooms.
One last piece I do want to throw in there. I do think we both bring in, and our other professors, teaching in the program, we bring in a lot of teachers in the field to share ideas, practices, activities, suggestions, things that help them along the way. And it's just nice to have those current active teachers chatting within our Zoom classroom. It's really a nice piece.
Yeah, it's nice. And it gives an opportunity for current students to ask questions in different ways when they're not in a field placement. Maybe they want to ask about something that they saw in a field placement, and they didn't get a chance to ask there because that teacher was, running to a special with the kids or something like that. But it's a neat opportunity. So we really try to do an in-depth connection with the field. So you'll feel like you're very much a part of our classroom community, our college culture and community, and also professional in the field.
I love that you can do that virtually
Mhm.
and still have that sense of that cohort experience and that community vibe. I think that's a wonderful asset to the program.
Yeah, and
So-
in some ways it's even easier online because we're able, I'm going to use Sophia, we may bring a teacher in from the Bronx or Brooklyn or New York City to talk about unique characteristics of different regions and different types of schools. I mean, that's great takeaway.
Yeah.
Totally. It's kind of like expanding horizons in a way that we can do that's hard to do when you're bringing somebody in from another district literally onto your campus. So that's awesome. So another question, what would the program look like if I were doing it part-time versus full-time? How many classes would I be taking if I wanted to try to go part-time? How many classes would I be taking if I was going full-time? Would I be busier in like one semester over another? Like what are some, kind of example scenarios of what that would look like?
So it's very flexible. So part-time could be taking one course a semester if you feel, you want to feel it out, see the workload. Maybe you're working a full-time job, families, the whole 9 yards. That is very doable. So it would be one night, 3 hours on Zoom, working with us, depending upon the course. Also, if you want to go part-time, maybe it's 2 courses a semester, very flexible. Full-time would be 3 courses a semester, possibly 4 if you have a lot of time and you feel that you could handle the 4 classes. We always like to work according to your needs and chat with you because there's certain things you need to think through and think about when you're making those decisions. One of the things is field hours. So we would sit down, talk about the courses that you would register for the semester, and then share with you how many field hours, how many hours you need to be out in the public school or in a school, doing some observations and working with teachers. That's going to play a role in how many courses you'd like to take during this semester.
And most courses are somewhere between 10 and 15 field hours. But if you're taking 3 classes, that adds up a bit. And we also would want to talk with you, see that you know that, and depending on what kind of work you might be doing, we want to think ahead with you about, let's say that you're working in a business, we want to talk about, okay, what are the opportunities that you have? And I usually find bosses love it when people are going back and doing more education. So, maybe you have an opportunity where you can go to a school in the morning and then maybe you work through your lunch and you work that out with your boss. But we can help you kind of think through some of those possible challenges that you might have. But it's very flexible. And, like Dr. Fagnelli said, it might be 1 course a semester. It might be 4 courses a semester. It really depends on what's the right fit for you. And sometimes it changes as you go along. And, I can think of one student we have who's doing 2 courses a semester because that's the right fit for her. But now that she's thinking about, next semester, she's actually thinking she might want to add another course next semester and have 3.
And, a perfect example, this one particular student, she will take a sick day and go in for a full day, which is a great experience to see the beginning of a day in an elementary classroom and an end of a day. You learn a tremendous amount and you see changes in personalities and exhaustion and all of that with these students. But it works for her schedule. So she can get 6.5 hours done in one day, which is a nice piece. So we're very flexible with that.
So if I'm a full-time teacher, can I still be able to fit, like, how do I do my field placements and things like that if I'm trying to manage my classroom? Do I have to take time off work?
Yeah, so what we do with that, so we need people to have, it's a New York State requirement, of course, that they have that field hour requirement. So typically what we do is we work with students who might be in that position to maybe use lunchtime, a planning time. Sometimes we have worked with students to find maybe their own school starts an hour after a neighboring school so they can do an hour field work and then, go into their current job.
You know what else? We also found that administrators are really flexible because they want to keep their staff. So the administrator may actually work something out. We've done where they do a co-teaching situation and they get experience in a lower grade and then flip-flop back. And it works. And we are willing to work with the administrators.
Yeah, basically, as long as we're meeting the New York State requirements, we're very flexible and we want to work with you. And we know the questions to ask you, and we can give you ideas based on what we've had other students do and suggestions for what you might talk to your supervisor about and how that might work.
Love that. So thank you. Thank you for answering those questions. So is there anything else we think we need to add for our recording for folks who are joining us after the fact?
Come and join us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a moment and pause our recording and end our recording. We just want to let anybody who wasn't able to attend, who's watching this virtually or happen to catch our session online, if you have any questions, please reach out to us. We're here to help. We're excited to, introduce you to Sienna and introduce you to our graduate programs. So please don't hesitate to reach out and bear with me just a moment while I end our recording.